And I didn't understand addiction. I was around people, we were just doing fistfuls of cocaine, taking acid, going to acting class, drinking too much. But I was never around anyone that said, maybe we've got a problem here. I was around teachers that were consuming massive amounts of drugs, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And when I moved to America, it was the same. When I moved to America, I was 24 and I fell into like the bar and restaurant business by chance. And I was around people that would consume massive amounts of cocaine and drinking and make a shit ton of money.
That's the environment. That was the environment.
It's just and then when I moved to Miami first and I moved to New York, right? And then in New York, being around Scott Weiland, all these rock stars, doing the tattoo shows, I was around everyone, whether it was a Wall Street guy, a real estate guy, a TV guy, everyone was doing mounds of cocaine and drinking excessively.
Yeah.
There was no boundaries. And everyone was making ridiculous amounts of money.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Unlocked from Within. Today's guest, we have Mike Diamond. He is a speaker, author, podcast host of A Dose of Positivity, also a Guinness World Record holder. He's also a coach that specializes in helping clients with battling addiction. Today, Mike is going to share some of his best mindset strategies he's learned on his path to overcoming addiction himself, and how he's also used his past failures, experiences, and pain in becoming a Guinness World Record holder. So today, let's welcome Mike Diamond. Tell us about your story from when you were a little boy in Perth.
Yeah.
And
well, I grew up in Perth. And I moved. So Perth was strange for me. I never kind of fitted in. Greek, Italian, mixed race. And it was just a bizarre place. And I think, looking back at it now, I have no regrets. It was, my dad and mum did the best they could. They just weren't, what's the word? I just, back then, I don't think people understood what a growth mindset was. It was just like, if you're out of line, you got cracked. Schooling was really bad. I was undiagnosed dyslexic and ADHD. So with all the mental and physical abuse and stress at school, I just started mood altering really young. So I started drinking and...
at what year were you in when, you could notice the impact it was having, like in school? Was it year one? Was it year two? Or...
No, I was pretty good through primary school.
Yep.
I could kind of figure it out. It's just as soon as high school hit, I just couldn't figure shit out. I just had ADHD and dyslexia. So I could, I think primary school wasn't as bad because you weren't going into calculus and all these other mathematical things like basic English. I had trouble reading always and comprehending, but I could I was good with people, so I could kind of navigate. I fell through the cracks.
Did you feel like in high school that you got found out?
No,
you didn't have that
this
feeling?
Was the problem. No. And
because I had it. I couldn't read till I was 8 years old. I got found out at 8. And so year one, year two, I was, like you said, just slipping through the cracks. And then I feel like I got found out. And what would happen is self-esteem issues and whatnot. And like whenever I wasn't listening, because I was bored in school, hated it from that young of an age. And like the teacher would know I wouldn't be listening and get me to speak in front of the class. And then I wouldn't know the answer, and then everyone would laugh at me. So then that created me feeling like I'm dumb, I'm stupid, and whatnot. And like I'd go home to dad and like just say like I don't get it, and it was making me depressed and everything else, self-esteem issues. And he said, look, no, you're a genius. You've got to I believe in you and whatnot. And that one little thing got me through. But even into high school, always just wanted to not be there, and just like yourself, it just the self-esteem issues, the lack of just no confidence, no belief in myself, and just still thinking that I'm dumb and stupid.
It's funny, my third or fourth grade teacher, I can't remember which it was, I was having trouble. I got a book we had to read by ourselves, and she brought me out in front of class and made me read, and all the kids laughed at me. And I thought to myself, now, Like, why wouldn't you pull me aside and pull my parents aside and say he's having trouble reading?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what a horrible teacher. That's just like, that's not how you teach a kid.
Yes.
And when I grew up, all the teachers were like that, because a teacher when I was a kid could whack you with a strap, and they could literally shame you, call you stupid.
Yeah.
The one thing that I didn't have, which you had, which was interesting, like, I was called stupid by my parents. I was called dumb by everyone. I wasn't called, no one actually said I would make it through. No one said I would be okay. And I was a really good athlete, like a superstar athlete. And instead of telling me you're great at sports, they would tell me the opposite. Like, oh, you're such a show off. Because, Australians are really tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
So I had, so when I achieved a certain, so I started mood altering, because even when I was successful, I felt ashamed. I was shamed for being good at what I was doing. So then I was like, what do I do with these feelings? And when you're young, you don't know how to process. So the easiest thing was to drink and to smoke pot, and just whatever drug came my way, I would just consume to try to deal with the feelings. And I didn't understand at that age. I mean, you don't know. And I'll be honest with you. I got sober at 19 the first time. I left Perth at 19 and went to acting school in Sydney. And I didn't understand addiction. I was around people, we were just doing fistfuls of cocaine, taking acid, going to acting class, drinking too much. But I was never around anyone that said, maybe we've got a problem here. I was around teachers that were consuming massive amounts of drugs, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And when I moved to America, it was the same. When I moved to America, I was 24, and I fell into like the bar and restaurant business by chance. And I was around people that would consume massive amounts of cocaine and drinking and make a shit ton of money.
That's the environment. That was the environment.
It's just and then when I moved to Miami first, and I moved to New York, right? And then in New York, being around Scott Weiland, all these rock stars doing the tattoo shows, I was around everyone, whether it was a Wall Street guy, a real estate guy, a TV guy, everyone was doing mounds of cocaine and drinking excessively.
Yeah.
There was no boundaries. And everyone was making ridiculous amounts of money. And I mean, 300, 400 grand a year, millions of dollars a year. So you're like, this is what we do. This mentality was work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
And it's just such a disease. So for me, when I got sober in 2006, it wasn't that I didn't look at it like I don't have money. I was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everyone around me is consuming massive amounts of drugs, but no one was happy.
Yeah.
Everyone thought they were happy, but they weren't deep down. It's like they say, fight, flight, freeze, and feed. We were just feeding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're angry, you feed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You want to
take the edge
you're
off.
scared, you feed. Yeah, everything was in the sympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
And everyone, and it was just like, it was this bizarre time. There was so much money. It was the .com. Then it went into just like, there was no social media. So whatever you did, no one saw it. Like, it was crazy. The stuff we got away with in New York, you'd be in jail now.
Yeah, right.
And you'd be on social media. And it was just this continual cycle of insanity.
Yeah.
And no one came up for air. And unfortunately, coming on 16 and a half years sober, the people that didn't make it, thank you, brother. The people that didn't make it out are dead now.
Yeah.
They're dead.
How many people, like, if you were just, count that, from that lifestyle, are dead now? That were around you.
Personal friends.
Yeah.
10.
Wow.
Under 50.
Yeah. And how old were you at 2006 when you...
I was 32.
Wow.
But I got sober. See, the problem is I got sober at 19 and messed it. But this is the crazy thing. Here I am. I own a bar.
Yep.
With Scott and Duff, right? Called Snitch. I created a bar, packed every night. All the rock stars are there, just out of our minds. And I had these sober guys that would come in and watch the bands. And the pivotal moment for me was I was shooting the VH1 show. and Scott was in Velvet Revolver, and he was having issues with his, wife at the time, Mary, who's a dear friend, and she was just right. She's like, I'm out. Like, this is stupid. And I kind of looked at his life, and I looked at coming from Perth with nothing and where I was, and I was like, I could continue down this road, or I thought, what, how about I just get sober and see what happens?
Yeah.
So being sober before, but I didn't understand that addiction or alcoholism is a progressive disease. No, I understand we're working with addicts for years. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'll just get sober. So I went to one of the guys who was like 15, 16 years sober. There was a group of them. And I said, look, I don't know how long I'm going to be sober for. Listen, I just want to just get sober. So he said, go to these meetings. I went to like the anonymous meetings, NA, AA, CA, because I was just doing everything. And after like 3 months, I was like, oh, I feel so fucking good. I don't think I'm going to do this. But what I would do is like, I wouldn't tell myself. I just was like, I'll just get through the day. And it was literally day by day, right? Yeah. After a year, too much stuff had gone really well. And I had so much clarity because I'd always meditated. And this was the weird thing. So I was a weird addict.
Yeah.
Like I would never party after a certain time. It was weird. Like I was like a structured addict. So I'd go to the gym every day, never missed a workout, ate clean, walked my dogs, showed up for work, right? But from 10 o'clock till 5 in the morning, or 4 in the morning, would drink and do massive amounts of drugs and then stop and go home. Like it was nothing. Like it's just the stupidest thing ever. Like I was like a Navy SEAL addict. It made no sense.
Yeah.
So when I stopped, I still was meditating when I was using. Like I was still meditating in the afternoons because I was sober all day. Yeah. I just had this work hard, play hard. You make a ton of money. Yeah. You do a shit ton of drugs. You drink hard. Make a ton of money. It was just a stupid cycle. It was
the lifestyle. Yeah.
It was just dumb. It was like build it up to burn it down. Build it up to burn it down. Yeah. It was just a hamster on a wheel, right? And then when I got clean, it was just like, well, I already meditate. That's easy. I already exercise. That's easy. I already eat clean. So it was just like, I'll just get rid of the drugs and alcohol. Yeah. And then when you get really focused and your pineal gland, decalcifies and you're really sharp and your intuition's on, and you're like, oh, what was this life? What was I even? This makes no sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then the years pile up and you go through real shit, like, stomach surgery and like near-death experiences. And you go, oh, wow, like I don't use drugs anymore or drink. Yeah. And the doctor comes up and says, hey, do you want pain medication? Even though opiates, I'd done heroin, but opiates weren't my problem. I was like, no, I don't need it. Yeah. I don't need it. You know what I mean? Or even with my ulcerative colitis, they were trying to give me a bunch of antidepressants and pain meds. I was like, nah, I'm good. Wow. So it's, but before we got on, you said this great thing that really, I love what you said when you said the adversity thing. And for people listening, this is a really good thing. So when the pandemic hit, right, the week before I met Dave Meltzer, I said to Dave, hey, we should collaborate. And he said, yeah. So we started doing office hours, right, together. Yeah. But we had the first episode.
I was on one of the early ones.
Yeah, and when we started working together, and he does the other ones with Mike and Dave and Blaine, we have our show. And I sat down and I always journal, and it reminded me of September 11th. Yeah. Because I was in New York for September 11th. So I started writing and wrote the first draft of my second book. And then I went to an editor. We edited that. Then I shopped a publishing deal, 15 rejections, got a publisher. Wow. Now we're in the third edit, right? But the funniest thing is this. You want to get a publisher and you go through all the rejections and you finally get the publisher, right? So you get the publishing deal. It's going through Random House. It's a dream, right? And then I'm sitting there and my stomach, I have to rewrite or with them 70,000 words in a month. Yeah. My stomach blows out, right? So I was traveling. I got COVID twice. Wow. My stomach blows out with my ulcerative colitis, and I'm sitting there, and I'm not. And I look down at my leg, right? I'll see if I can find a photo, and And I look at my leg and I was like, oh man, my leg's all, I think I got bitten by a spider, right? So I'm like, damn, I got a spider bite and I've got this chronic diarrhea from my ulcerative colitis, to the point that I told my editor, I said, look, there's going to be times, I don't know if you can see that.
Wow. So
watch this.
That's
Hold on, watch this, my leg. It's crazy.
That's
Look at
nuts.
that. That's my thigh.
And
but
so
it gets better. I'll tell you the story. Check this out. That's my thigh. I think I've been bitten by a spider. So I've got this messed up leg. I'm literally on the toilet editing because I'm like dying, right? And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm on with my editor. Because she's on the toilet and typing. I'm like, I got to finish this edit, right? So I wake up and my back's really sore. I'm still working out like an idiot. Like I still work out. I go to the doctor and I go, man, I got this really bad spider bite. He's like, okay, can you show us? So I pull my pants down and he's like, dude, you got shingles.
Oh.
I thought it was a spider bite, right? So I had shingles.
Yeah.
So I've got shingles and I've got this really bad, like my stomach's like rotten out, right? I'm just in really bad shape. So they give me medication for the shingles, right? So my stomach's even worse because of the antibiotics. So I'm sitting there, right? And I'm getting, I plan, I've got to edit a certain amount of pages of the editor, got to do the rewrite. I've got everything on the calendar. I'm still getting up at 3, still doing my breath work, still meditating, doing everything, not journaling. And I look at the book, right? And the book is called A Dose of Positivity.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how ironic. I write a book called A Dose of Positivity and I'm miserable. I'm completely miserable.
Yeah.
And it's teaching me that this is what I called.
Yeah.
I asked for this.
Yeah.
I asked for a publishing deal. I said I wanted to call the book A Dose of Positivity. They approved the title, which is very rare. I got a publisher, right? Which after
awesome.
like a year of shopping it. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, see, this is what people don't get. Like, it's like, you know, you could line up and say, you know, you're Tom Brady, right? I want to make the NFL. All right, you made it, but you're pick 199.
Yeah.
6th draft, but you made it.
Yeah.
Now, to get in, it doesn't matter what happens, you're going to have to be better than the other quarterbacks. And hopefully there's a chance. Then you get in.
Yeah.
And he wins 6 titles and he still gets drafted. And guess what? They go, we still don't believe he can do it. And he wins. He keeps winning.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, that's the story. It's like you don't know what it's going to feel like when you get there.
Yeah.
And people get into their heads thinking, like you said, you know what I mean? You didn't know you're going to go through all that adversity with the kid, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't know you're going to go through all that adversity with the Facebook. And you didn't know you're going to go through all that adversity. So we had
all
these
at the same time. Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's what makes us, what most people don't understand is, and I call it destination disease. When you arrive at the destination, it's a disease to think you know what you're going to feel like.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to feel like because you've never been there before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the trick is to enjoy the ride. And every day you're faced with adversity, go, no, this is the lesson. So instead of focusing on why it's happening, you're focusing on how can I grow from this experience?
How is it serving
what
me?
Is this,
how is it teaching
how,
me?
Exactly. And I think that slight shift in perspective going, no. Because and another thing that we were talking about before we started was like, the biggest mistake I made and a lot of my friends made was there's nowhere that we can be but right here now. Yeah. You and I are on this podcast. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. We don't know what's going to happen in 10 minutes from now or in the future, right? And most people can't be present in the here and now.
Yeah.
Right. And when the opportunity is in front of them, what they don't understand is they make the mistake of thinking, well, I want to be there. No. Be here. Just be here.
Be here.
Because the opportunity is probably in front of you, but you're not actually seeing the opportunity because your mind is either in yesterday's bullshit or it's obsessing or worrying about the future, or you're trying to, I need to be there. No, you're here.
Yeah.
Just stay here. Just stay present.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And then what I've found, like I got another edit back. My mind, as soon as I get an edit back, goes back to school. Oh man, you should have got it right the first time.
Yeah.
It should have already been done. And when they ask me a question, dude, it's like I'm on my, I've written the 3rd book it's edited, and I'm on a 4th book, right? Which the 4th book will be fully edited with an editor when the 2nd book comes out in March, right? That's how far ahead I am, right? And still, my brain, even though I nailed the edit in 10 days with a bad stomach and shingles, and it was approved, and now I'm going through the copywriting editor, because the copywriter literally will ask you every word. Is this a fact? Where'd you get this source from? So you don't get sued, right?
Yeah.
It's that intense. They go word by word.
Wow.
And you have to reread every word, and they'll question you. Like, who quoted this? Was it your friend, or who's this? Or where'd you find the source? Or what was the exact time? What's the location? When did it happen? And it's like, what? And then you literally have to go back. And then I'm like, no, what? No, it wasn't like that. I have to rewrite that. Or I've got to be specific, right? Because it's the copywriting that when it comes out, if anyone comes back, you're like, nope, you can't sue me.
Has anything different come out, like in writing this and your story? Has anything come to the surface that you weren't aware of before?
No, it was all there. It's been I think everyone should write, even if they don't publish it, I think everyone should write their story. And I think it's very therapeutic.
There's healing.
Because it helps you bring up that buried stuff that you need to bring to the surface and just process it. And that's why I tell people, journaling every day is really important, because the way I start my day and my thinking, it's usually not the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, but what I do is I get down how I'm feeling in the moment. How's my body feel? Because some days I wake up and I feel great. I'm like, my body feels good. My stomach's good. This is good. That's good. And then there's some days you wake up, you're like, I'm just anxious.
Yeah.
Why? I'm overthinking. What am I overthinking about? And you start to question it. And then once you start to get to the core, you'll get the answers. Like, I'm overthinking it because I'm worried about this, but now I just have to know I've got to give myself more time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've realized. We don't give ourselves enough time to succeed.
Patience.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I just don't think we're realistic about learning skills. We're not taught how to learn. We're not taught how, like at school, it's horrible. Like, you're in this box and they're like, all right, Marty and Mike, these are the questions. You got 30 minutes to answer it. And you're like, okay, well, you failed. Or you get a teacher that says, I didn't like how you interpreted this piece. It's a failure.
Yeah.
And you're like, life doesn't work like that.
No. It's not trained for the real world. Like, I think, like when I said to you, I couldn't read till I was 8 years old. So they took me into a special class, and there was a class of 6 people. And it was one of the only times that I was taught a fun way to learn. So how they got us to learn to read in there was we'd throw a football around, this little small football, and we'd play these games. And then he'd go, okay, that maybe do 5 minutes of that. And then we'd go to reading, and then we'd chop and change. And he just created fun with learning, which at that point, and even after that point, I never had fun of learning. So like I didn't pick up my first book until I was 17. Like, I picked up and fully read it from front to back, and it took me twice to give that book a go, which was How to Win Friends and Influence Others, because my dad could see how I had a really bad attitude. It was getting worse between that 16 to 17, because the amount of pressure of the teachers and that saying, you need to have your life figured out at 16 and 17. But yeah, the point
isn't that just such garbage?
Yeah. But the point of the story was, like now looking back on it, is fun with learning. That was the thing that stood out for me. And I picked up reading within months back to that standard. So yeah,
what's really interesting, and this is why it's such a dated paradigm. Rockefeller basically put in $130 million back in, I think it was 1903, into the education system to create a worker.
Right? You can Google it right now, like type it in and it shows.
Yeah. And basically, they wanted to create a worker, someone to conform that wasn't going to be an entrepreneur or forward thinker, right? So you get the schooling locked in, that you build that fixed mindset. Then you have this dated IQ test, which is complete garbage. Complete, because if you don't have emotional intelligence and you can't deal with people,
yes,
you don't have purpose, and you don't have goals, and you don't have financial literacy, and you don't know how to save your money, and you don't know, you know what I mean, basically human needs, you're going to be screwed. So people stay in this loop, in this system of safety, which is complete crap, because nothing's ever safe.
Yeah.
Because you could lose your job, right? But
which a lot of people did in, you know, with the outbreak.
So many people.
Yeah.
So many people. And then you start to really study like great learners, right? And most of the learning, I don't know if you've ever like done any research on the people that can remember like hundreds and hundreds of like digits.
Yeah.
They don't, it's not, you got to take a long-term memory and add a short-term. So there's one technique what people use is like, say, for example, your car, which you know, or your house, somewhere that's familiar. And if you get a set of numbers, because the brain, the way it works, and like the social security number or the telephone number, if you noticed, it's 3 digits space 4 digits. We can only take in 3 to 4 right bits at a time, the brain, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, it's chunks. We have to learn in small chunks. So if you want to remember something and you take whatever it is, it could be your house, it could be your doormat, right? And I say, okay, remember your doormat, see your doormat, and then see your doormat with 3 numbers or a sentence on it. You'll associate the long term with the short term, and it clicks. So when you see your doormat, you see that thing.
Yeah.
And what another people don't realize is this. So if I'm going to ask you something right now. So I want you to think of a time right now when you were wearing, say, a red sweater. Can you think of it? Can you see it?
Yeah.
All right. Do you know where your eyes went when you did that?
No.
All right. Now I want you to think of it and try to focus on where your eyes go. So now think of your wife right now, when your wife was having the baby.
Yeah. So my eyes are focused dead smack in the middle.
Perfect. Okay. So the way you remember is looking in the middle. Yeah. Some people recall to the left or recall to the right. Now I want you to construct an image of you right now wearing a blue sweater. See yourself putting a blue sweater on.
Yep.
Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So the way you look is you look dead center when you construct them and you remember. Some people look to the left, some people look to the right, some people look down. We all have different. Now, if you want to remember stuff, if you want to remember stuff, what you've got to look straight. Yeah. Okay. Wow. So when you try to remember stuff, so if I told you now construct an image, take a long-term memory, which is your, so if we were going to do it, say let's do this. Let's do random numbers.
Which really does make sense. That's really fascinating because when I'm watching a movie.
Oh, so you just see how you went to recall a memory. You looked up to the right.
Yeah.
You looked up to your right, my left. You said when I'm watching a movie, your eyes looked up.
Yeah.
You didn't even notice that.
No.
So say that again. So
when I'm watching a movie.
Yeah, you look up. There you look. See, you looked up. See, you looked up. So now when you recall. So if I wanted to tell you, if you want to remember something, I would just tell you, look up to the right and you'll recall it.
Wow. That's amazing.
So now
that would be really handy if that was taught in school.
Well, so then how I do this. Now I'm going to even mess you even better. Watch this. You own a car, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 3 things. That car you own, before you bought it, did you see it? Did you feel or did you hear someone say something about the car you bought?
See it.
Perfect. Now, when you saw that car, what was the second thing? Did you go to a dealership or did you see it in an ad? What was the second thing you did?
It was we just bought it off family.
Off family, but you saw the version first.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, before you bought it, did you actually physically get into it and drive it?
Yes.
Perfect. After you drove it, you felt good, correct?
Yes.
So after you saw it, you then felt good, correct?
Yes.
And then you made the decision to buy it.
Correct.
But if someone had told you about the car and you didn't see it, you wouldn't have bought it, right?
No.
All right. So watch this. I'm going to show you a trick right now. So have you seen that new diet product that's out right now?
No.
Okay. if I send it to you so you can have a look at it, would you be willing to try it if you get 50% off?
Possibly.
Do you see what I just did then?
Yeah.
I said, did you see it?
Yeah.
You said no.
Yeah.
And I said, if I send it to you so you could have a look at and try it, would you say possibly, right?
Yeah.
So I know you sort through visual
Yes.
and then feeling.
100%.
Okay?
100%.
So what I do with you is I'm going to teach you something new. I'm going to say, first of all, I'm going to focus on words like, do you see what I'm talking about? You're going to say, yeah. Yeah, people say, I hear what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Or I feel that person. I have to say, do you see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Do you have a clear vision of what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Now we're building rapport, right?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to say to you, I want you to see, right, the words or the thing you have to remember. You're going to look up to the left, right? Because you're going to see it in your left, right? You're going to recall on your right. You're going to see it. Once you lock into seeing it, right, then I'm going to say, now, does it feel right? You won't remember it unless it feels right.
Yes.
That's how you saw it.
Yeah.
So if I want to work with you to remember stuff, you have to see it first.
Wow.
If I want you to be motivated, I have to make sure you see it. Then I'm going to give you an opportunity to try it for yourself and feel it. If you can get the seeing and the feeling, so if you want to remember a paragraph, you have to visually see the paragraph in your mind, and then you'd have to move around and feel it in your body. You'll remember it every time.
That's mind-blowing.
Right. Yeah. Then that's how I coach addicts. Then what I do, and to motivate people, then what I do is for you to recall it. I make you look up to your right because I know it's stored in your right part of your brain. So you look up to the right and you see it, and then you'll feel it.
Yeah.
Now, if I go to get really technical with you, because you're a feeling and seeing guy, what I'll do is I'll create a video that you can visually see it, right? And put on music that you can feel.
Yeah.
And then have you anchor with like a fist or something, right? And as you close your eyes, right, look up to the left, your left side to construct the image, and just hold it there. And then all I have to do is like get that trigger, get that music, get that visual thing. You could see the whole thing.
That's nuts. That is really fascinating. So how many?
And I taught myself that stuff.
How many variants is that then? Like, you know how like with the school system, they'll put 30 people through if, you know, they're just trying to, if everyone gets
so they don't do anything. So
yeah.
if I'm going to teach someone, right, that's struggling to read, I first of all figure out how they sort information.
Yeah.
So if they're like, I'm a visual person, it's easy. I can take you through visually. If they're an audio person, put on an audio book.
Yeah.
Because as I put on the audio book, they're going to see the language in their mind and the stories.
Yes.
Right. And that it's going to be one of those two. And then there's always going to be the first two. Then there's going to be the third, which will be a sorting thing. Right.
Yeah, right.
So some people I like to see it. Right.
Yeah.
And then hear and then feel. Some people like to say, I like to hear. And once I hear it, I want to see it and then feel it.
Wow.
Right. And we're all different.
Yeah. Everyone's
some
different.
people go into everyone's different. Some people intuitively need to feel it in the gut.
100%.
Right. Then I need to feel if it feels right. And then after I feel right. And some people, and you hear them, I don't grasp that. It's a feeling thing.
Yeah.
I can't get my hands on it.
Yeah.
Right. Then you hear some people, they'll go to a wedding, right? And all they'll talk about is the food. Because they're gustatory. They're motivated by how they taste and smell things, right? They're like, dude, the food, right? The food was or you get in the conversation, all they talk about is the menu. Yeah. Or you have another person that all they'll talk about is the lights.
Yeah.
Or the other person, like the band was so good, right? So you listen to how people sort, and then once you figure out how they sorted, then you chunk it down. And you know that we only remember 3 to 4 parts, right?
Yeah.
So you say, okay, let's get an old association, which is something like your house or your car that you can see, because you know your house or your car, right? Or your street. And then you take the information and you place it on your doormat, on your front door, on your couch, and you tell yourself a story. Because what do? We remember stories.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was walking down the street and I walked to my front door and say it's numbers. And on my mat, it said 346. And you see 346. As I opened up the door to knock on the door, it was number 423. Right. Yeah. And then as I opened the front door, I looked down and my dog was there. You know, your dog. And then this number was tattooed on the side. All of a sudden, you line up those 30 numbers and you go, what are the numbers? Well, on the mat is that number. On this is the, and they remember the 30 numbers.
Yeah, right. Wow. That's really cool. Really cool. Yeah.
And that's how you learn. And that's technique to learning.
Yes.
So if you're doing a speech, right, you don't stress. So if there's 8 modules you have to learn, you put the modules in a place that you remember. Put them in your house, put them on your car, put them on your street, and you walk down the street. If it's purpose, I see on the street, it's purpose street.
Yeah.
And then it'll trigger all the things you have to remember about purpose.
Yeah, right.
And then I made a left on, say, it's like Consistency Street, and you see the street sign because you know your streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just do the little walk around your area. And what it is you've associated what you need to remember.
And imprinted it. Yeah.
It's done. And guess the best thing, because you tell yourself a story, you remember. It's like you go to a party and you hear a joke, you never forget it. And then you make the joke your own.
Yeah.
So you've got to make the learning your own.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And you experience it, and you've got to tell, like you said, have fun with it, tell a joke, and then you'd never forget. Yeah. And that's the way to learn.
Yeah, like for me, that the fastest way for learning is, if I'm having fun, and then if I'm not, I've got to check in and go, okay, maybe I need to stop and pause, go do a meditation or a breath work, or go for a run, just change the state I'm in. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
And redo it.
Yeah, yeah. And so going back to your story, like you're a Guinness Book World Record holder?
I ran 30 half marathons in 30 days like an idiot in the middle of August with after stomach surgery with a hernia and ulcerative colitis.
So all that pain, what was what was the technique, or what was helping you to push through that pain?
You know, it's weird. It's like after my stomach surgery, they told me I'd never heal. I'd have to take my colon out. So I didn't take my colon out and I healed.
Yeah.
And then I guess the addict in me always likes a challenge. And I literally was trying to look for inspiration. And I saw this lady called Ann Trazen, and she ran 100 miles. I was like, how the hell do you run 100 miles? I was a sprinter all my life. I never ran distance. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to push the baby a half marathon. So I just went out and pushed him a half marathon, ran a half marathon. Like an idiot. I didn't run a 5K, ran a half marathon.
Yeah.
And then I found a little, I was trying to help raise some awareness for a friend's kid. And a good friend of mine, Morgan Spurlock, said, well, people run for causes. Why don't you just run and raise money? And then I thought, and he's like, well, I said, well, how fast should I run? And he said, I don't know, try and run like a bunch of half marathons. I was like, all right. And then there was like half marathon world record. I was like, oh, I'll try it. My stomach blew out. I got the hernia. Doctor said, don't run. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to quit. So let's see the kind of person I become figuring this out. And I think that's why you've got to have a stretch goal and commit to it, because it changes your life. And it's like they say, the first million is the hardest to make, because it's the person you become to make the million.
At what cost?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. At what cost?
Yeah. And it's like, can you really commit to getting up every day? And I worked every day. I had to drive 50 miles back and forth to see a client. Can I really run? Because not that I lied through life, but I felt I cheated myself through high school because I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
So I graduated, but now if I went back and studied, I'd kill it because I have technique, right? Yeah. So I was like, you know, I felt like there was parts in my life. I could have played Australian rules football. I got drafted as a kid out of high school. If I wanted to play, and I was like, no, I'll go to Sydney. And I was like, all right, I was a really good athlete, but can I do this? Can I really get up every day, no matter how I feel, and run a half marathon? Because it can't kind of lie about that. Like to run one half marathon a day with colitis and, you know, stomach things, I can't bullshit that.
Yeah.
I can't look at someone else's paper and cheat my way through the test. So I was like, this will really reveal, am I the real deal?
Yeah.
Or am I just telling myself I'm a badass?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because the average person can't run a half marathon every day.
No.
I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
They just can't. They'll do one or two and they'll be like, after their legs blow out. I had people that would come and run with me for a day that were a lot younger. They're like, I can't, how are you doing this every day? And I'm like, that's what I've got to tap into to be successful. And like, I remember getting to like day 25, 26 going, the first 7 days was horrific. Like my body was just like, what are you doing?
How many of the was that voices in your head the whole time just saying quit, or like? It
wasn't quit. It was more like questioning it. Like, why are you doing this? This is stupid.
Yeah.
And every day, which is really hard about running that distance, it's like I say to people, so motivation's a lie, and I'll tell you why. You and I, as human beings, try to avoid pain and gain pleasure. So if I said to you tomorrow, I'll give you $1 million, and you said, okay, I want the million. And I said, every day, you have to wake up at 3 a.m, no matter how you feel. You're going to right this second, like every person will say, well, I want the million, right? I got forward motivation, have a reason to get up. You're motivated right now. Now, what people don't assume and where they fail is this. When they wake up at 3 a.m. the next day, they're faced with the reality of the bed is so comfortable and pleasurable, getting up is a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
So what do 99% of people do? They hit the snooze button.
100%.
Once you hit the snooze button once, you're done. Because what you say to yourself is the lie, I'll do it tomorrow. You're already done. Once you say, I've done it tomorrow, you've made one excuse. That's the new habit. I'll do it tomorrow. And you watch that only 7% of people actually go to the gym. They have a membership. Only 7% go to the gym.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's the mentality, I'll get around to it.
Yeah.
You never get around to it because life is short.
Yeah.
You got to do it now.
Yeah.
There's no procrastination. So what I tell people when I got up and every day, I was like, I know I'm going to feel like crap. I may run 30 days straight and never enjoy one run. And then if I got like a mile where in the whole 13 miles where I felt good, I would just hold that mile and say, okay, at least I felt good for a mile. I think I can, maybe tomorrow I'll feel better, but I'm not going to expect it. And then I'd run one that was amazing. I'd be like, oh my God, I felt good. But then I didn't get too like joyous. I was like, all right, but you never know. Tomorrow may be shit.
Yeah.
And then I'd have 5 days straight, which were horrific.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is so difficult. Just step by step was like, oh my God, this is killing me today. And then I get in my car, go and feed my son and drive 50 miles, deal with this guy on fentanyl, come home, walk my dog, get up at 3 a.m, do it again. And I was like, dude, this is really testing me.
Yeah.
It was breaking me.
It would be breaking anyone. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, but what it did is after it, when I looked back, when I had to go through 15 rejections for my book, I was like, yeah, but I'll get a book deal because I ran 30 half marathons and I got the book deal. And then when I had to go through another edit, it didn't matter how many notes you gave me. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to break me. I've already trained myself. I ran 30 half marathons in August in the heat with a bad stomach. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it taught me, like, I know now because I've got friends that are Navy SEALs. I know what it's. You've got to do things that are so uncomfortable every day, so you're trained. You know, I've never missed a workout.
To have those wins. See, that's what I feel like with the cold showers. For me, it's like having the win in the morning. That first.
What's going to be as hard as a cold shower? It sucks.
Yeah.
And it's what Wim Hof says. It sucks. Cold showers suck. Cold sucks, but you get used to it.
Yeah.
And it's teaching yourself to go, okay, I'm going to do that's. I don't work out. I train.
Yeah.
I exercise to make sure I'm sharp. Do you know what I mean? Like it's been proven that between 115 and 145 beats per minute, right? If you can keep your heart rate in that zone for a long period of time, then when you're in life and the heart rate jumps up to there, you can stay rational. Most people can't when their heart rate, because you're in your sympathetic nervous system, they can't when their heart rate's at 145, because if you're just standing there and your heart jumps to 145, you're obviously something's shocked you. You're not going to just jump to 145. And if you're not trained in that zone, then you freak out. So when a car cuts you off, your heart will probably jump over 145. Well, you regulate it back. So you train pushing your heart rate and your sympathetic nervous system so you know, well, I know this feeling, I'm cool with it. So then when you get the feeling in life, you're cool with it. So if you're in a bad situation and you see athletes or Navy SEALs or whatever, the only reason they're so good in those stress situations because they've trained under stress.
Yeah.
But if you're not training yourself under stress in life and then something happens, that's why when you see cops, they don't mean to go and shoot off 100 rounds at someone. It's just they're too young and they're not trained under stress to the point where, you know, they've come out and they've fired mistakenly. It's because the sympathetic nervous system, they're hijacked.
Yeah.
They don't mean to. No one means to do that. They just like overrun. And then when they go into the court, they're like, I didn't know what was going on. Or do you know what I mean? So you've got to train yourself that way. You've got to push yourself in life when no one's around. And that's why they say, do the work in the dark and you'll shine in the bright lights. If you don't do the work in the dark, you get exposed in the bright lights. And the bright lights are life.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the stage don't lie. If you get out in life, life's the stage. If you don't do the work, you get exposed.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
You know, people pull you up.
Yeah. So like with that event, like, did you feel that just you were able to redistribute that energy into something positive?
It just changed my perspective about what's possible because I'll be honest with you. I took it on, but I knew I could do it. I just didn't know what it would take to do it.
Did you think you would be able to succeed if you weren't doing it for a cause bigger than yourself?
No. I couldn't just go out. I have to have forward motivation and purpose. That's why I say to people, don't worry about passion. Find a purpose and be passionate about your purpose.
Who you can help, who you can serve.
It's for me, it's all service. I have to inspire, educate, and motivate people to live their potential, love themselves because they matter. So if I get up every day and I'm working with an addict, it's easy. I know what I have to do. I have to help them make an empowering choice. If I write something, I don't worry about writing me. I think about how is my audience going to take this information and be a better person. So that if I do that every day and then I do my work on myself, work on my thoughts, work on my breath, work on my diet, stretch, stay healthy, my instruments clean, then if I'm faced with adversity, you know, something happens in my house or someone cuts me off or I get a bill from the tax department, I just go back to my center and go, okay, well, what's the next, what do I do? I got to find a solution. You know what I mean? I'm not overrun like, the world's out to get me.
Yeah. So like it's created that foundation of, I can figure this out. Whatever life throws at me, I can figure it out.
Everyone should have challenges. Like you should stretch. You should have stretch goals. You should have hobbies that challenge you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like do things that stretch you. Like I read a book every week. I read it start to finish. And what I do is when I read it, I make notes. This is stuff I've already read. Great. It reminds me this is new stuff. And I file it. And then when I go to write, I've got, you know, a book a week for the last 5 years, 400 books of information. I know where to pull from. Information in, information out. Always be gathering. I read something, I'm like, I got to read now 10 more books on this. Or I'm never not learning. I know nothing. Every day I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to learn today. I'm a blank sheet. Do you know what I'm saying? And I look at life. That's how you don't get old. You get old when your brain is not learning. And you know what I mean? And neuroplasticity. You've always 100%. Got to be learning and thinking and working. And it's like a shark. You keep swimming. Stop swimming, you're dead.
That's it. And so like how long have you been doing like getting up at 3 a.m. every morning and starting your day from there? And what
2017.
2017. And then before that, what time were you getting up?
4:35.
Yeah. And how does your day look, like your routine of the morning?
Well, I get up between 3 and 4. My body tells me, like when I was struggling with the recovery with the COVID and that, it would tell me. I would sleep at 3:45. Some days, like this morning, it was 3:00. I was up, right awake, boom, ready to go. Every day starts the same. Go downstairs. I wash my face with freezing cold water to start. Drink about 20 ounces of water to hydrate myself. I put glutamine in my water and branched chain amino acids. I write for 30 minutes, and then I stretch, and then I do my breath work and I meditate. Then after that, lift weights. I usually do my cardio and read. So if I'm like on an elliptical, if I'm not running outdoors, I put on an audiobook. I like to read physically because it was always a challenge, just so I get better at it, concentration. And then after that, I eat, cold shower. I like to do hot and cold now. I'll do like 5 minutes of hot and then just freezing cold, just so my body gets the difference. And then my day starts. It's usually clients. If I'm editing for a certain amount of time, podcasts, and then it's just nonstop. It just doesn't stop. And then family obligations with my son. I eat every 3 hours. I time my food. I eat carbs, not a lot. I eat clean proteins, a lot of fish. I eat a lot of meat, fish and meat right now. Chicken hasn't been working for me, so I'm off the chicken. I'm just fish and meat. And it's all the same. It's very routine.
And if something like, say, some adversity or a challenge gets thrown at you in your day, what gets you to stop and think, all right, I've got to, what's your technique that you like to use to reset or restart?
It all depends on the adversity. So what I really, I've been served with like lawsuits. So I just stop, just stop everything, breathe. Yeah. Always breath work, come back to center. And I never read something or attack something in an emotional state. I just stop and I breathe. So I use a technique called stop, which is stop, take a breath, observe, then proceed. So I stop, breathe diaphragmatically. I don't care how long it takes me to get center. I get out of my panic mode. And then I observe the feeling. What am I feeling? Well, I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I want, lose what I have. I'm worried about the future tripping, or I may have some kind of guilt and shame from the past. Yeah. If I'm in any of those four, I'm not in the center. I get back to center. Then I'm like, what can I do right now with the resources I have? Can I call someone for help? Can I handle this myself? If it's a law thing, usually I call a lawyer or a friend that's more equipped than I am. I always read things really slow and like 5 or 6 times. Really slow. Yeah. Right. Like I stop. Yeah. Set up my environment and I take it really slow. If it's a lawsuit or if it's an email, because the first read, it's always bullshit. It's like, oh my God. It's not real. Yeah. I'm not really actually reading it. And I'm not reading it with the right tone. Yeah. Because when you read something that's an email, when you read you
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I use that technique and then I just stay in the pocket, calm down, and then I'm good.
Awesome.
And I just stay out of I barely get stressed now. I stay out of, there's not much that I haven't gone through, near-death experiences, getting sober, like I've been stabbed before in bars, like working, I've had guns pulled on me. Yeah. Like it's not much I haven't gone through that. I don't argue with people in the street. If someone comes up to me, I give them a pass. If someone wants some money, just give them money. Yeah. Like I keep it really like, it's okay. Chill. Yes. Do you know what I mean? And if someone hates on me, I more go, well, okay, forget me, go into second person. If I was writing that, I must be really upset with myself, or I must be going through pain. So instead of being angry at the person, I'm compassionate now. I'm like, the person's in pain. Yeah. They need some love. They need a hug. They need some empathy. Yeah. Yeah. So I try to work on myself really hard. So if I'm not in a good state, I don't talk to people. I don't put it out in the world. I get myself right before I go out and deal with the world, because I find that if I don't get myself right, I'm just going to be spewing a lot of nonsense and venom and hate and hurting people. Yeah. Yeah. So I just spend all the time with sorting my shit out.
To be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And knowing that I'm an addict and I can overthink and I can, think catastrophically. And here's another thing. If I'm in physical pain with my colitis, I'm really mindful of that. I've got to be patient, and I've got to be like, I'm in pain. So my wife and I'm like, I need space because I've got to deal with my pain. Because if you're in pain, you're not in a good space. You're going to just hurt people. You don't mean to. You're just in pain.
You're just in pain. Do you find breath work helps with physical pain?
The best.
Out of all the things
you have to breathe.
Yeah.
The mindfulness, breathing, and any kind of breath work is the king.
Yeah.
You have to do breath work. You have to regulate your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. And by breathing correctly, you align your energy centers and you align your body. You have to breathe. You have to sit down and eat your food correctly. You have to chew your food correctly. So when you're chewing your food correctly, you're building digestive enzymes to help you digest the food, because the mind and the gut relationship, the serotonin's in the gut. People don't understand that. They stop their food. They don't eat correctly. They overeat. They undereat. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to slow the fuck down and breathe. Breathe life.
Yeah.
Stop. Calm down. Where are we going? Like I said to someone the other day, we'll finish with this. I'll give you this. There is 2,650 billionaires in the earth, right? With a net value, I think it's $12.7 trillion. Okay?
Yeah.
A lot of money. If you and I are standing there and we've got all the billionaires and we're standing over our graves facing our creator, it doesn't matter how much we have behind us. We can't take a spoon in our underwear with us. Right?
Yeah.
You come into the world naked, you go naked. So
exactly.
If you can't slow down and enjoy it and breathe, and you accumulate all this crap, it doesn't go anywhere. Be happy with yourself in the moment, slow down, and just take it for what it is. And if you can do that, you'll figure shit out.
Awesome. And if there was one last thing to say, someone that's either an addict or in depression or just in a real rut, what would be the one thing if you were back in that state that could help you out right now?
Anyone that listening to this, you're enough. It's just a moment. It'll pass. And reach out to someone, because there's always someone that's been through what you've been through, and don't suffer in silence. It's okay. It will pass. It always passes. They're just moments. They're just moments. They're just thoughts. Do you know what I mean? They're just feelings. It's okay. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up for feeling bad or having a negative thought or not feeling okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a thought. It's emotion,
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your time today. Loved it. Loved the energy. Hopefully we get to do this again. Hope you enjoyed Unlocked from Within. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the story of Mike Diamond. If you'd like to check him out, check out his podcast, A Dose of Positivity, which is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please like and subscribe it. Please also check out his book, 7 Steps to an Unbreakable Mindset, which is on Amazon and also in bookstores. You can also find Mike on Facebook, Mike Diamond, and also on Instagram, the Mike_Diamond. Thanks again for listening. Please subscribe to Unlock from Within. Thank you.